So you want a clear, quick, unfoggy reading and a go-to deck for a range of situations and purposes. Well, keep watching, because in here might be a deck that's perfect for you too. So here we are to the wonderful Mags Black. She did a recent tag, my top 5 sharpshooters, decks that give you clear, fast, unfoggy readings that you can rely on to deliver the message straight away. I'm going to share more than 5 because when I looked, there are quite a range of situations that I pull on certain sharpshooters for, and I wanted to share that. If you want a deck that becomes like an umbrella sharpshooter that can be used in loads and loads of different situations, then my go-to for that is the Light Seers. This deck by Chris Ann, we've all seen it before. Mine's edged in black. I call this a sharpshooter because it is so easy to read. I've heard so many people say that over and over again about this deck. There's something about the imagery, the way the cards are depicted, and it's RWS based, and it's just really clear. The range of colours when you lay the cards down also, I find, can really add into a reading. If, like me, you use things like colours as well. Aesthetically, it's beautiful and it's just really clear. The meanings of the cards are just so well depicted. I mean, look at this death card. Not only have you got the shrouded figure for death, but you've got the new dawn coming up. You've got rebirth in there. It is definitely a deck that prompts memory if you're struggling to remember the cards. Really clear depictions of the energy behind these cards. I mean, look at that sun card. It so clearly gives that sort of abundant feeling of joy within it. So that's my first sharpshooter, the Light Seers. Next, I'm going to share a deck that is a sharpshooter within my deity practice. The Crow Tarot is a firm, solid favourite that I work with upstairs on my altar upstairs for conversations with the Morrigan. I don't know whether it's the deck or whether it is the fact that it's the Morrigan that speaks through this. But I find when these cards are laid out, again, the message is always clear. It's always straight to the point. I never have to wonder quite what the meaning is. Could it be that? Could it be this? It's always pretty clear. Plus the fact that there's a white horse on the Knight of Swords with a raven absolutely ties into my deity walk. This card, more than any other, claims this deck for me for deity work. So it might be that there's one card in the deck that screams the purpose of the deck for you, like the Knight of Swords in this deck. But again, it's Rider-Waite-Smith based, and it's just so clear. The activity of the crows in here, plus the depictions of backgrounds and action within the cards. There's just no way that you can lay a spread out with this deck and not get an immediate and very clear message with it. Another deck that I think can be used in a general situation is the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. Now this, from the get-go, from the moment I first laid the cards down on the first reading with this deck, I understood the messages almost without thought. This deck for me almost tells you the reading before you lay the cards down. I know that sounds odd, but it's such a clear voice and such a clear storyteller. I don't know whether that's a storytelling aspect of it, but I almost feel like I don't even need to look at the cards. I just need to pull the cards out of the box and the message is already forming. I can't explain it. Probably more than any deck, this is the deck that just feels like a bubbling pot, just bubbling over, waiting to talk to you. And the messages are super clear. This is my favourite strength card ever. I love it. Like, you can see the storytelling aspect of this deck. It's there even in single cards. It's beautiful. I love it. My favourite card in the deck is probably this one. I just love it, and it's super clear. So that is another go-to sharpshooter. A sharpshooter for personal growth or healing or self-love work is a new one in my collection, but it's made in already, the Tarot Avatara. This is the deck by Gabby Angus West, the lovely Gabby Angus West that I received at the start of the year about the life of Frida Kahlo. Now, Frida for me has always been a huge part of my life. I've always been fascinated not only with her art, but with her story as well. If you want to see a full walkthrough of this deck, I will link it at the end, so stay till the end. But if you know anything about Frida's life, you will know that she did not have the easiest of lives. She was riddled with illness and complications from major accidents throughout her life. She was bedridden for a lot of her later life. She was desperately in love, but often abandoned on repeat. Tempestuous was her love life, to say the least. So this deck speaks of passion and creativity, but also the tragedy and angst of life. You are pulling a card for self-development or self-growth or self-healing, or to delve the depths of your psyche. I think tapping into the life and story of Frida via these cards just turns it immediately into a sharpshooter for me. Next, I'm going to share a pair of decks, because these decks work together as a pair. Like the Tarot Avatara, these are sharpshooters, and boy are they sharpshooters, again for healing work, to do with family issues, family scapegoating, and betrayal work. If you are struggling with emotionally disconnecting from somebody or moving on from some form of betrayal, these two decks tap into core wounds amazingly well. So we've got the Nicoletta Ciccoli and we have the Zombie Tarot. Both sharpshooters in their own right, but you pair them together and they become magical. This is a combination, like I've said many times before, that I first saw on Saturnarium's channel, and the minute she showed these two paired together, I knew that that was going to be a go-to must-have in my practice. I'd already got the Nicoletta Ciccoli and loved it. I had no intention of ever buying the Zombie Tarot until I saw them paired, and the readings I get with these two, not only are they sharpshooting, clear, fast, in-your-face readings, but they also kind of have an element of magic. They're so unbelievably good. And I think they work together because this has a real childlike quality. You can almost imagine like the child's bedroom or fairy tale, but it's got an edge to it. And of course, the Zombie Tarot takes you to the dark, apocalyptic areas of life. So if you're trying to track down core wounds and understanding past issues or family of origin issues, then this puts you right there, and this gives you the dark aspect of what you may be missing in your subconscious. This for me has opened up parts of my shadow self that are forgotten and repressed and that need bringing to light. The two decks combined are just magical, because I couldn't possibly do a sharpshooting tarot video without sharing my very first sharpshooter, the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. My very first soul deck. I think the imagery in this is not quite Rider-Waite-Smith. It's Rider-Waite-Smith with a twist, and I've said before in all my reviews of this deck that the dark cards are lighter and the light cards are darker emotionally in this deck. So it does stray a little bit with the slant it puts on the meanings from Rider-Waite. But the meanings that you find when you work with this imagery and you work with the little white book as well, just sear themselves into your mind and just make this just a glorious deck to work with. It is one of my all-time favorites. It's definitely in my top 5, I would say, decks. Lastly, I am going to share a deck that I have used for my year ahead spread, because I just think it's really clear with the way the imagery is on the cards. Plus, I think if you're British, it's so British. It becomes so recognisable that you can't help but have it become a sharpshooter. So this is Poppy Palin's The Everyday Enchantment Tarot. The edges are all colour coded, so straight away you've got that visual to see what the general energy of the reading is, whether you've got more cups or more swords or mages in there. And it just depicts what it says on the tin, everyday life. But everyday life that for me is so recognisable. I mean, this is the Page of Cups, is literally Tilly running to me from the school taxi with another drawing that she's done for me. It just is so clear what that energy is. You know, the Two of Cups, you've got people meeting in the park with a coffee, you've got dogs playing, you've got friends meeting on walks. It's very, very clear. It's set against this very recognisable backdrop of an English street. Look at the star suddenly being given a helping hand to get out of a really difficult situation. It's just the most lovely deck. So there were 2 extras in there, 1 pair, but those were my sharpshooters. And if you wanted to see another sharpshooting deck that was a huge surprise to me, which is in use behind me right now, then go check out this video, because that one is one not to be missed. So thanks, Mags, for the tag. Now just to sit down and work out what my deep dive deck's next. I will leave all of Mag's details below and the original video to go and see her sharpshooters. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Bye.